Hello, I'm Lance Kupek. Coming up, we'll show you how Frontier Oil got its start in Cheyenne and the history of oil itself. We'll give you an inside look at how crude oil is refined into the products of today. Plus, we'll meet one of the great organizations that Frontier Oil supports, the Boys and Girls Club of Cheyenne. All that and more coming up on Refining the Process. Hello everyone, welcome to Refining the Process. In the next half hour we will be showing you the inner workings of our company, the people that work here, and explain exactly what we do here at Frontier Oil. Frontier Oil is leading the way in safety and innovations. As we look forward to the future, we must also understand our past. It helps if we know the past of the refining business and also the history of oil. Petroleum can be traced back millions of years to the dinosaurs. Once man discovered the uses of petroleum, then the innovations began.
Long before us, huge beasts walked the earth. Little did they know that 65 million years later, they would be helping to move our society forward. Natural gas and petroleum are created from the remains of plants and animals. When nature mixed their remains with mud and covered it by heavy amounts of sediment and high amounts of pressure and heat for millions of years, the matter eventually changed into kerogen, a material found in oil shales. With more heat added, it changed into liquids and gaseous hydrocarbons known as fossil fuels. Three of these are coal, natural gas, and petroleum. Early civilizations used petroleum from oil pits for lighting, and according to the Greek historian Herodotus, the Babylonians were able to use oil and asphalt to build their towers and walls. The Romans perfected the use to build up their empire, but the science of removing oil from deep within the earth would come from the other side of the world. In 347 AD, Eastern cultures such as China and Japan were the first ones to drill for oil using bamboo poles with drill bits attached to the ends. Some of these wells were as deep as 800 feet. First written about in the mid-800s by the Persians, the process of distilling crude oil into a kind of kerosene, as well as other hydrocarbon compounds, developed into an art form.
By distilling oil, same way you would alcohol, you could get kerosene out of that. And that's kind of how oil began.
The goal was to create a clean and safe lighting material, and many tried. It was only in the 1840s when Gessner and Young advanced the distillation process into what is known as kerosene that this became a reality. One problem still remained. Because of the process it took, kerosene was very expensive. So for some time the main fuel was whale oil from the blubber of various whale species. Then in the 1850s, the process to distill kerosene from petroleum was perfected, which provided a cheaper alternative to whale oil. The demand for petroleum grew quickly around the world, and the first commercial oil well was drilled in Poland in 1853. Gasoline as we know it today had little use at the time. Kerosene was the primary product, and gasoline was just considered a waste byproduct. It was so unappreciated that gasoline was even dumped into rivers. But that would all change with the invention of the internal combustion engine and then the automobile.
It really took off as we started driving cars.
With the increase of the number of automobiles and even more uses for fuels, the industry focused on petroleum as gasoline, and it became the primary product that it is today. Within no time, the need for oil was huge. In the United States, demand of fuel led to oil booms in states such as California, Oklahoma, and Texas. With these booms, the U.S. overtook the Russian Empire as the top petroleum producer in the world. Years later, on a prairie in southern Wyoming is where Frontier Refining's history began. Capital Oil and Refining Company was started by two Cheyenne entrepreneurs in 1934. By 1940, the company became the Frontier Refining Company, and its production capacity increased to 1,800 barrels a day. During World War II, petroleum was very important for the war effort. It kept jeeps, tanks, and airplanes in the fight. In Europe, the Allies bombed Axis industry, including oil production facilities. While the bombing continued with the goal of decreasing enemy gas power, here at home the U.S. government was looking to produce more. They were specifically looking for an inland source of 100-octane aviation fuel. After much lobbying by Wyoming politicians, it was decided that 2 refineries would be built in the state, one at Parco or Sinclair, Wyoming, and the other one adjacent to the Frontier Refinery in Cheyenne. Frontier oversaw the construction and operated the refinery for the government. At the end of the war, Frontier purchased the refinery and converted it to produce automotive fuel and other petroleum products. Up to the mid-1950s, the world's primary fuel was coal, but this would soon change as oil made its way to the forefront for our energy needs. In 1957, Frontier had what at the time was a simple yet revolutionary idea. To clean up the look of the refinery, why not add some color? Frontier was the first to paint its tank farm with pastel paint, leading to a practice that has become common in the industry. Throughout the years, Frontier continued to move forward, whether supporting our national defense, expanding its own facilities, adding new technology, increasing its capabilities, or just being involved in the local community. For Frontier, the focus always has been on creating usable materials while calling Wyoming home. Politics and world situations have always had an effect on economies, and petroleum is no different. Yet despite the oil crisis of the 1970s and the challenges the world faced at that time, Frontier Refining continued to produce. Today, the top 3 oil-producing countries are Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the United States. And in the U.S., petroleum makes up 40% of our total energy consumption. Gasoline is a portable energy source that powers 90% of our vehicles.
There's gasoline, diesel, jet fuel. We use it for pretty much for everything that we transport.
Petroleum also works as the base for many industrial chemicals and a host of products, including plastics.
Pretty much everything that we use, oil has something to do with it.
Frontier Refining can refine 52,000 barrels per day and employs 280 locals. Frontier continues to serve the needs of the Front Range, and most of the fuel in Cheyenne is bought directly from the refinery. The progression of petroleum has been a long one, from the fossils of the earliest life forms to the innovations of ancient civilizations, from the kerosene that lit our way to the substance that powers our daily lives. With all the materials that can be created, petroleum is known as the mother of all commodities.
And then, of course, it's come to what it is today. We're basically dependent on it.
And at Frontier Refining, we will continue to produce the fuel for our future.
Coming up next, we'll show you how oil is safely refined right here at home. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Refining the Process. Many people know what an oil refinery is, but what do they really know about the process itself? We asked our local citizens in our community just what they knew about the refining process.
I really have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about oil refinery.
Well, I don't know exactly, but I know it's generally a process of breaking down a raw substance into something that can be used for the masses. That's about all I know.
I just think once they pump it out of the ground, they take it to like a refinery plant and we get all the bad gunk out of the oil from whatever comes out of the earth.
I don't know what it is, and I don't have an idea how it'd be done.
Well, the way I feel about oil refinery is the fact that we don't have enough oil refiners.
Oil refining, what I believe is the process of
refining oil into fuel, whether it be heating fuel or gasoline or diesel fuel.
Oil refining is when you take the crude oil out of the ground and you refine it down to usable fuels that can be used for car transportation, items like that.
The process of refining oil is very complex, but now with the help of Thor Forseth, we will show you how it becomes the products that fuel our lives.
The crude oil, when it arrives, we have it in storage tanks. And from the storage tanks, the first place we take the crude is to our crude unit. The crude unit is the initial place where we take the crude and we separate it into its various products. Crude itself is a combination of large molecules and small molecules. The large molecules are the molecules like you see with asphalt that goes into the pavement on the street. Some of the small molecules are the natural gas, propane that's used for heaters, butanes, all of those things, the gasoline, the diesel components, are all actually occurring in the crude. We use distillation to separate these products. Distillation is a key part of the refining process. You heat up a mixture, part of that mixture will boil, very similar to heating up water on a stove. Part of that mixture will become vapor and rise, just like your water will turn to steam and come out the vent on your teapot. Those vapors rise up the distillation tower, and at the same time, we have cold liquid pouring down the distillation tower. The tower has a number of distillation trays in it, and the contact between the hot vapors and the cool liquid will help the separation between the various molecules. The light material will come off the top of the towers. Some of the very light material will become part of our fuel gas that we burn in our heaters. Next range molecules become gasoline type molecules. Then we'll have another set of molecules that come off at a different set of temperatures and pressures that are diesel range. At the bottom of that tower, we'll have a heavier liquid that remains liquid, we call gas oils and the asphalt material. Some of the crude oils we have will have 40% of it will be gasoline and diesel. Some of them will be up to 60% naturally gasoline and diesel. What we produce here at the refinery is anywhere from 70 to 80% of our crude oil becomes gasoline and diesel. So what that means is we have to take 20 to 30% of the heavy components that exist in crude and convert them into gasoline and diesel molecules. The processes for converting the heavier molecules into gasoline and diesel are the cracking processes. One is the coker, where we thermally crack the heaviest of the crude molecules into lighter molecules. We take the asphalt that's produced from the crude unit and we feed it to our coker. And in the coker, we thermally degrade the heavy molecules by heating them up to 915 to 920 degrees. The high temperatures will cause the molecules to degrade into the smaller materials such as gas oils, distillates, gasolines, butanes, propanes, methanes, and ethanes. Type of material, again, that you can burn at your house or that exists in gasoline and diesel. The other product that's produced is a material called coke. The coke is like charcoal, coal type material. It comes out of our drums in large chunks. We take those chunks, we crush it down to smaller materials, and it's sent off to various markets, including fuel markets. The other process that we crack molecules is in our fluid catalytic cracker. The cat cracker, it sits in the middle of the refinery. It's a tall structure. And in that unit, we take what's called gas oil, which is heavier than diesel, is a type of material that is used to feed the cat cracker. The cat cracker, it's mixed with a catalyst that is a lot like sand, a very, very fine sand. This sand catalyst actually flows like water. In the process, the way it works is you got one vessel that holds the sand-like catalyst. It flows down, mixes with the oil, and then goes up into what we call the reactor. But the reaction actually occurs in the pipe as it goes up into the reactor. The reactor is more of a separation where we separate the products that are produced. The products are all vapor at that point in time. They go out the top of the reactor to our distillation column. The catalyst, the sand-like catalyst, however, separates out, it drops down. It actually has we call a coke residue laying on the catalyst, very similar to when you burn wood in your fireplace and you get the soot that's left over in the fireplace. It's a very, very identical type material that's on the sand catalyst. It's fed back down, is mixed with air, goes up into the regenerator, and actually that coke is burned off of that sand type catalyst at that time, and that regenerator actually operates at about 1,300 degrees to 1,350 degrees type temperature, so it runs very hot in there, and that actually provides the heat for the reaction. That material returns back to the feed, and that is used to heat up the gas oil from around 400 degrees up to 980 degrees, sometimes 990 degrees, to provide this process. The crude, the cat, and the coker are our main units providing feedstocks to all of our downstream units. The rest of our downstream units are there to provide finished products that we actually take to market. We use high pressure with lots of high percentages of hydrogen and high temperatures to run them through reactors to remove sulfur. We treat a light gasoline called naphtha, where again we are removing sulfur, but in this case we remove the sulfur, and the naphtha, which is a gasoline range material, then goes through a unit called a reformer. The reformer is kind of a staple of the refining industry for producing the higher octane gasolines needed for today's car engines. One of the other downstream units we have is called the alky unit. The alkylation process takes some of the lighter molecules, isobutane and butene propylene. We're able to react those across an acid and produce a very clean gasoline that has very high octane. It is another process that's allowed us to take a high vapor pressure material to make it low vapor pressure with a high octane, what makes it an ideal component for burning in gasoline in your car. The highest of the pressure units is our diesel hydrotreater. This unit operates at 900 pounds pressure with hydrogen. That high pressure, the high temperatures over a large bed of catalyst allows us to remove the sulfur, which goes off as hydrogen sulfide and replaces that sulfur with hydrogen on the molecules, and so we produce what's called a clean fuel. After the diesel passes through the reactors, the sulfur has been converted to hydrogen sulfide. We have a finishing process to take the hydrogen sulfide out of the diesel, and then the diesel is ran through a drying system, then taken to storage where it's ready to be taken to market.
After the break, we will look at one of the local organizations here in Cheyenne and what they do for our community. We'll be right back to Refining the Process right after this. Welcome back. There are a lot of local organizations that Frontier is proud to be a part of. One of these is the Boys and Girls Club here in Cheyenne. Here's how the Boys and Girls Club helps kids to find their potential and be great.
The Boys and Girls Club is a national organization that focuses on giving kids a safe place to learn and play.
In the last couple years, we have actually helped over 500 kids a year here at the club, and our daily attendance is about 100 kids every single day who are getting help.
It's a place that, most of all, encourages kids.
It affords those who might not have the opportunity to do things they couldn't otherwise do.
There is a slogan around here, "Be great." And it's that belief that every individual has the potential to be great that makes all the difference.
And to really help them with their making wise choices, both from academics to healthy lifestyles, nutrition, all of those kinds of things.
Education is one of the key elements that pushes kids forward.
Every day at the club we do homework with the kids so that they can help reach academic success.
Friendship, teamwork, and responsibility are just a few of many positive values the club promotes to its members.
Core values that most people feel are helpful in society.
The club not only helps the kids but their families as well.
We serve kids who are primarily on free and reduced lunches at school.
With moms and dads that have to work.
And who a lot of times come from single-parent families.
Whatever may be the reason children come to the club, it gives them a place to belong. For an organization like the Boys and Girls Club to continue to help kids, it needs to support its staff, maintain facilities, and buy needed materials. With rising costs, it's not always easy for the Boys and Girls Club
the community support is really vital to our success.
For Frontier Refining, donating needed funds is a critical way to support the club. But it isn't just donations.
Frontier can donate funds, but our people really make the difference, and they volunteer for the Boys and Girls activities.
Plus, many events and field trips that benefit the kids are supported by the refinery.
Frontier's also done a fun program with us. Our kids who have done well academically have had a chance to go indoor skydiving down in Denver, and Frontier has sponsored that for us as a wonderful incentive for the kids.
Frontier has always felt that it is necessary to give back to the community. So why does this company care so much?
We live here, we work here. I've always believed that to whom much is given, much is expected.
Currently, the refinery helps 37 organizations.
And there comes a time when we're just asked to give back, and that the need is the genesis of what we do. And the need is great, and we try our best to be there to help.
As a business, Frontier Refining produces goods and jobs. But in addition to that, it also feels the need to be involved within our community.
We have shown and will continue to show that we'll donate our time, we'll donate our resources, and we'll donate our dollars to be the good neighbor that Cheyenne wants us to be and that we want to be.
And the kids of our community benefit from the Boys and Girls Club of Cheyenne.
With support from the community, we are able to really give them that positive place for them to be.
It gives them a place to go. And most of all, the Boys and Girls Club gives children the opportunity to be great.
At Frontier Oil, we strive to be the #1 refiner and premier employer in the Rocky Mountain region. We hope that this half hour has helped you to understand the refining process and also to get to know your neighbors here at Frontier Oil a little bit better. For more information, visit us at frontieroil.com. We look forward to sharing more about our company with you in the future. I'm Lance Kupek for Frontier Oil. Thank you for joining us.